Sometimes we feel protected in moments we can't explain, as if someone somewhere is watching over us. In today's episode, I chat with angel communicator Ivory LaNoue, who has been seeing and hearing angels since she was 2 years old. We talk about what angels really are, the role they play in our lives, and how each of us can begin to connect with them. Ivory shares her journey from childhood visions to becoming a mentor and author of 11 books on angels and spirituality. We also explore what might be blocking us from that connection, and she gives us a simple yet powerful 33-day challenge to open to angelic guidance. If you're ready to receive that kind of presence in your life, I hope you'll stay with us for this beautiful conversation. Welcome to the Orykl Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with Ivory LaNoue, who since around age 2 has been seeing and hearing spirits and angels. It is this spiritual gift that led her to become an angel communicator. Ivory can't remember a time where she wasn't picking up information intuitively. After a spiritual awakening in 1984, there was no going back. And for over 20 years now, Ivory has been mentoring students, helping them to develop their spiritual gifts to the highest possible level. One of her passions is helping others discover their gifts and learn to communicate with angels. Ivory hosts a podcast called The Angel Room, and she is the author of 11 books on angels, spirituality, personal growth, and transformation, which is impressive. Ivory, thank you so much for coming. It's so good to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me today. I've been really looking forward to this.
Ivory, for those meeting you for the first time, how would you describe the kind of work that you do?
Well, I think it's a combination of connecting people with angels, using intuitive gift, and also my counseling background, so spiritual counseling. And all of that works together. I mean, people need a lot of comfort in the world today. There's just a lot of unsurety and anxiety and chaos happening. So, that is the reassurance part. And a bigger reassurance is as people get to know their angels and truly believe because they have their own experiences, that they have angels and they are constantly protected and guided. That is the biggest comfort that a person can get.
And when we talk about angels, I think people think of different things. What would you say is an angel? Because we know it's not a person with wings flying above us, but that's one image. It could be many things to different people. How would you describe what an angel is?
Well, I will say they did appear to me as beings with wings like you expect until I was a young teenager and then never again. I should say rarely again, but they are beings of light. They are celestial beings. They are God's, emissaries between God and humans so that we can be helped in a more intimate, constant way. And they are absolutely beings of light. That is how they look in the celestial realm. That's how they most often show themselves.
And do we all have an angel that protects us, or many angels that protect us? Do we have one? Or is there like an angel that protects everybody? Because there's a lot about protection when it comes to angels. Is that right? Is there a role to protect us?
Oh, yes. There's angels that their whole job is sort of to be your spiritual bodyguard. And you have a whole team. I call it a team of angels because they do work as a team and they often speak as a team. But each one has their role, and then they all work together to communicate with you, protect you, guide you. But some of those angels, are with you from the time of birth till you cross. And most of those angels and guides come and go as you need them.
And I know that there are archangels as well. Is that different to angels? What's the difference between an archangel and an angel?
Archangels are a higher level, closer to God. They are more working on a mankind level instead of an individual level, though there's plenty of times when I am doing spiritual protection for an angel session. And as I call in the archangels, I can feel one or more powerfully than the others as they enter. And I know that that archangel is with that person at that time and helping them with something. So they're not a part of an individual's team of angels, but they can certainly be helping that person, but they're more on mankind level.
Yes, right. I've heard stories of people telling me that an angel saved them, whether they felt the hands of an angel lifting them up or picking them up from the water when they were drowning. Sometimes they feel them, sometimes they see them, other times they just know that an angel saved their lives in a car crash or something like that. How does that happen? Can you explain what's happening there?
Yeah, I've had that happen. I talk about it in my first book. I talk about it on my podcast. One of the most powerful happened when I was 16. And so I'll tell you about this briefly. I was not supposed to be driving my dad's truck, but I wanted to go to a party. I was 16. I was not, fully formed. My brain was not functioning on an adult level. And I put my brothers and sisters in the back and one of them up front, my boyfriend and his little brother. And we're driving on these dirt roads, and we went around a corner and the wheels on the right side of the truck went off the road, and there was a very steep cliff there. And it went off and the truck started to tilt. And I thought, oh my God, I've killed everyone. And then all of a sudden, the golden glow filled up the cab of the truck. And it was lifted, put back on the road, and rocketed to the left and up a road I didn't even know was there, and came to rest against a big rock. Everybody was fine. Everybody was fine. By all rights, none of us should be here now. So that was my first experience with absolutely, seeing the golden light I was familiar with angels, and feeling their comfort surround all of us. Oh, I feel them coming in now as I tell you about this. It still makes me want to cry.
Wow.
But just knowing, just sitting there and knowing how close could have gone very differently. So another time I was very upset, and I was hiking in Colorado, and it had been raining, and I was wearing high heels, and that's a whole long story unto itself. And the ground underneath me just sort of dissolved, and I was going off the cliff, and I'm hanging on the side of this cliff on a root. And then all of a sudden I'm propelled upward, and I'm standing on the path again, and I'm muddy and soaking wet, but I was fine. So it's not like I even in those moments said, angels help me, or God help me. I was so panicked and just thought it was over, but it wasn't my time. And so I was rescued. My siblings and boyfriend were rescued because it wasn't our time. And so it isn't always by request that these rescues happen. They just know you are in desperate need and you're not supposed to cross at that time.
Yeah. And you've had the presence of angels since you were, since you can remember, right? I think 2 years old is what you said. As a little kid, did you see them with your eyes? What kind of interaction did you have with them? And when did you realize that, hey, not everybody sees them?
Two different questions. So I remember the first memory for me, I was between 2 and 3, and we were living in the country in Maryland, and I was outside, and it was pretty remote. My mom was hanging up laundry, and my baby sister was sitting on the ground, and I just wandered away. I had a habit of doing this later in life too. I just wandered away, and I was walking down a dirt road, and I remember I turned around and I didn't know where I was, and I remember being very scared and starting to cry. And then I saw this woman standing at the top of the road, and she was wearing a pale yellow gown, and she had golden hair and this beautiful face, and I could see wings. And she just held her hand out to me, and I walked over to her, and she took my hand, and she walked me to the edge of the property where I could see my mom, and then she was gone. And I know I wasn't gone very long, but when you're a very young child, and even a short time is very scary when you don't know where you are, that really stuck. It really sticks in my memory, and it was very, I don't know, I guess it was very much a formation of as my life unfolded and gifts became more evident. I was a very quiet, private child. And if I tried to talk about these things, I would hear, you have such an imagination. Oh my gosh, you have an imagination. nope, these things were happening. But by the time that I got to first grade, I realized very quickly that not everybody was seeing these things. And if I talked about them, I was going to be teased. I was going to be ostracized. So I stopped talking about it to anybody for a long time till I was about 18.
But you kept seeing them and talking
Oh,
to
yeah.
them.
Oh, yeah.
And would you talk to
And
them in the privacy of your room?
I talk to them in my room and I talk to them in my head because they do communicate telepathically. So I was talking to them in my head, as I do a lot now as I go through my day. And I think that that's part of how you form the relationship, is to understand how very real and how constantly present they are. And they're just waiting for us to acknowledge them, to ask for their assistance, and to listen and follow to what they guide us to do. Or what's the point? What's the point of guidance, from a higher source that you don't follow?
Yeah. And how would you know if if you get sort of a thought or a feeling, is there a sign that, oh, it's my guardian angel or it's an angel talking to me? Is it just a knowing that we have, or is there like a trick that we would know that it's an angel?
I think that takes time. I really do. It's one of the hardest things because since they speak telepathically, you hear them in your head like a thought. And so for many people, they have trouble sorting out what is my own thought, what is a message from an angel. So I guess if there's a way to discern it, it would be that if you have a message come into your head and you haven't been thinking about that, it's really out of the blue, off topic, unusual for you to think about something like that, and yet it's helpful. It's, something positive. It's your angels. And over time, as you learn to feel what the sensation is you get when angels are near you or trying to get your attention, that also helps because it can be a precursor to the message or come right along at the same time as the message.
Yeah. I've heard lots of stories of people that interact with them or have had a once-off, like a rescue or something like that. But I also know a lot of people that would love to have some kind of communication with their angels and they can't. What's the difference between somebody who can easily communicate with angels and somebody who wants to, but they can't? How come this person can and this one can't?
Well, some people like myself are born with that gift, just like people are born as a medium or born as a psychic or born with a great ability to run faster than everybody else. I mean, it's just a God-given ability, right? But
Right.
as far as the people who aren't born with that, the ones who trust that angels are real and they don't try to push it, they don't fight divine timing, they're going to do better. The ones who try to make it happen are actually putting up a barrier between themselves and their angels because it's not good frequency. It doesn't raise your frequency to get stressed, anxious, and to push through. You have to let it unfold as it's meant to. And some students really start picking up on it really quickly. First session, they are feeling their angels, which is where I usually start because it's the easiest thing. And some, it might take them 3 years, but when they finally do, they're so happy and then they seem to make better progress. So also practicing regularly the skills involved that allow you to develop the ability to communicate with angels. And it really is about practice. Like if you played a musical instrument, you wouldn't get good. You wouldn't learn how to do it if you didn't practice.
And you have written or published 11 books on angels and spirituality, which is a lot. So can you maybe summarize in one sentence, more or less, what each book is about?
First off, some of them are booklets. And the reason I did that, so small books, because it's been advised by somebody that is a mentor to me with my writing, that there's a very short attention span for a lot of people and a time crunch. And so they want their information very concise. They want to get right to the point. So some of my books are booklets, and I'll talk about that. But the first book, Let Your Angels Lead, my angels pushed me to write that book for years before I was in a good space to write it. And then most of that book just flowed because I felt like they were guiding my hand as I was typing on my laptop. It was effortless. That book is about teaching people how to feel, see, and hear angels, how to overcome barriers that are in the way, whether they're conscious or unconscious barriers, and also how to get out of a dark night of the soul. Because sometimes people are in that so deep they can't even begin to communicate with angels or even trust that there is something higher, bigger than themselves out there. So that's my primary book. And then right after that, I wrote Celestial Connections Angel Journal, which is just an angel journal with quotes and a guide of how to use it that goes with the first book. Then there was Being an Earth Angel, which is a booklet. I talked about it on my podcast, and it was so popular, I thought I had no idea people would be so interested in that. But Being an Earth Angel is just literally about people who are seriously angels on the face of the planet and how to know if you are one and what that means, what it looks like. The next one kind of went back more to my mental health career roots, which is when your partner isn't spiritual, how you can handle it, not how to, but how you can handle it. If you're in a relationship with somebody who either has no spirituality or they're religious, you're spiritual, how to negotiate that to keep your relationship healthy and even better instead of having that become a wedge between you.
That's interesting because I know so many girlfriends that are into this stuff and the husbands or boyfriends, they're not.
Yeah.
And I think there's, love and respect, but it would be nice to know how to handle that, right? So that there's a bit more understanding between both parties. That's a good one.
That came up because it comes up so often with my clients, and I couldn't find anything to refer them to address it. I'm like, well, I guess I'm writing that.
Yeah, great.
The next one's Archangel Sakiel's Guide to Abundance. It's another booklet, and that's one of my most popular books, and it is about abundance in all its forms. Abundance is not just money, but the people, the things in life that make it rich and full for you. And so how to achieve that. Oh, I feel I'm coming in, covered in angelic energy. And it's just about how to work with your angels and Archangel Sakiel to bring more abundance. And then the next one was, again, a podcast episode that really took off, so I expanded it. It's called The Mirror That Heals, and it's about Heyoka empaths, which is just a specific type of very sensitive empaths and why they're here and what's especially difficult for them in life and how they can negotiate life a little bit better and easier for themselves. The next book's, again, about my work. It's Soul Exhaustion. And that, I think, says it all. Like, you reach a point where it's not just physical fatigue, but your soul is fatigued, and how to overcome it. It's actually been happening on a more grand scale over the last 8 to 10 years, more and more and more of people really suffering from that. So it's not something that you can sleep your way out of. It's not something that you're going to achieve through medications. So it's a spiritual condition that must be dealt with spiritually. The next book is Roots of Light, which is about ancestral healing. And it's just a booklet again. So a short, concise book on what that means, how to heal your ancestral lines, how you may already be doing it or have done it. And if you want to start working on that to help your family generations back and currently, how to achieve that. The next one's one of the longest books I've written. It is Empath Rising. And that one is about the role that empaths have in the world to bring it to a new level of humanity, a new level of consciousness. Because whereas there are people who think being an empath is a weakness, it's something to be shameful, it's actually such a spiritual gift. It is a powerful gift that can change the world. So that's what it's about, change the world for the better. The next one's Reset Your Life at Any Age, which is another one that's a full book. And it is literally about how to change your life, how, if you're unhappy with your life in some way, you're in control of it, how to change that, how to make it more what you want it to be, no matter where you are now or how old you are. And then the last one is Self-Forgiveness with Angels. There's just so many people living with guilt and shame. So it's how to work with your angels to overcome that. And that's a lot.
That is a lot, but you know, it's nice. It's nice because I always say it's nice to have something that it's a bit more specific, because if you are that person that is in that you're speaking to, then it's very much for that person. So not all those books, for example, would be for me, but there'd be a couple where I think, oh, that would be for me. So instead of buying a big book about angels in general, I might buy a little booklet that's very specific to what I need. And like you say, people don't have time these days. Nobody has time in this day and age. So reading a shorter book is a good idea. You really are an angel specialist. Is there something that you find that is often misunderstood, either about the work that you do or about angels?
Couple of things. The work I do, I've had people think I'm an atheist. I'm like, how can you think why would you assume I'm an atheist if I'm working with God's angels? Doing spirituality work is very much a spiritual thing. And, I do believe in a higher power. And it's just interesting to me how someone makes that jump. And about the work, I think that people misunderstand. It's kind of hard to describe. I was meeting a bunch of new people in the last few weeks, and they're like, what do you do? And I'd say, well, I do angelic work. What is that? If they think it means that I'm an angel, I'm like doing something angelic. No, it means I'm working with the angels, connecting people with angels, and using the power and might and brilliance and guidance of the angels to help people in their lives. So I would say those are the big ones.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is there something that you can suggest to us as a little challenge that we could do to make our lives better? Something that would have sort of the biggest impact, that's not too complicated, but that we can start actioning on ASAP, and that would really have an impact in our lives and in our happiness.
I think the best thing people could do if they want to connect with angels specifically is set aside a little bit of time, 5 minutes or less every day, with no interruptions, no noise and distraction, and start talking to your angels, and then leave a little bit of silence for them to respond, and really pay attention to the thoughts that come into your head in that moment, and journal it. Start journaling everything that happens when you do those. The more you set aside that time for specific angelic communication, the more that you're focusing in and able to catch their messages, able to start feeling their energy, all the things that are going to start bringing down the barriers. And at the end of 30 days, I would expect that you'll either be feeling them or hearing them, or at least getting guidance, whether you heard it or not, you're being guided.
Okay, so I take a little journal, 5 minutes or less, and I ask a question specifically to my angels, and then I just try and sit in stillness and see what comes up, and I journal whatever comes up.
Yes.
And whether I'm sure that it is an angel or not, I just journal whatever comes into my head, right?
Yes, because it's really difficult if you judge yourself and you judge the messages you're getting, then you could dismiss angelic messages right out front. So I think it's better to just write exactly what you hear. It's kind of like when you are a reader and you do a session, you have to say exactly what you're receiving and not edit it, not judge it, but just say it. Same thing, you're learning to do that for yourself.
Okay, so let's say we do this for 33 days. We're going to make the challenge 33 days. What do you think can happen at the end of the 33 days if I'm diligent with it and if I do it every single day? And how would day 1 be different to day 33?
I would think first off, because you have set aside the time and you're intentionally connecting, that you will receive messages, even if you never have before. If you have received messages, you'll receive more of them. They'll be more clear and repetitive because you're journaling it. So you're going to see the same message coming through. The more often you hear it, the more urgent it is for you, the more important it is. And you'll start feeling something when you are tuning in to the angels, because you're asking them to gather near. You're asking them to communicate. And they're telling me right now they will do that. I know they do. And you'll feel something in your body, and that's how you feel the energy of angels. So you're gathering confidence they exist, they're with you, and you start getting those messages.
Mm. And then I suppose that after you do that for 33 days or however long, and then you start feeling more confident, oh, yes, these are the angels replying to me, then you can really start asking questions that you really want guidance on, right? Like, should I
Mhm.
continue down this path or this path? Or what do you think I should do here? And then it's quite helpful to have a guide like that has your best interest at heart and that really knows what's best for you, I guess.
It is, but I want to caution people. I've been communicating with angels pretty much my whole life, and there's plenty of times I ask them a question and they will not give me an answer. So sometimes you're not meant to know the answer,
Mm.
and that
Yeah.
happens. And it's not a failing on your part. It's just you're not supposed to know at that time.
Yes. Yeah. Also, sometimes we have to figure out the answer on our own, right? Or we have to
Or
go
let time
through the
unfold.
exercise.
Let things
Yeah.
unfold. Let time go by. You're not prepared. Maybe you don't have the people in your life, the experience, the knowledge for it to happen yet.
So tell me, where do you think human beings sort of get it wrong when it comes to their personal or spiritual path?
I think that they're waiting for something to like guide them on every single thing when you need to start just taking some action. A lot of times it begins, as you probably know this, I'm sure, you just get a feeling, a push, that nudge inside you to take a class, to read a book, to go to a workshop, to start a new studying something new spiritually. Then do it. Sometimes that's how the messages come in the beginning to get you started. If you're always waiting to hear what you're supposed to do and never taking action, then you're going to be a perpetual student and never actually gaining skills and improving.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think also in today's day and age, we hear a lot of stuff, we are fed a lot of information, but we don't necessarily action on that enough. We know what's good for us, but we somehow don't do it. We just go into default mode and become busy and don't take the time for ourselves. And I know for myself, like every day that I take the time for myself, and usually I do it in the morning with a swim, my day just flows so much better. And so the more I see it in my personal life, the more I realize, oh, this really is good for me. And of course, I do more of it. But you need to start, right? You need to, yeah,
You
action.
do, and you're talking about a spiritual practice, and I'm very, very into that. Like starting my day with my own spiritual practice, which just means the things that I do on a regular basis to keep me in touch with my angels, with God, with myself, my higher self, with my purpose, my mission, and balanced. I want to stay really balanced and calm in the midst of this chaotic world. And then there's things I do at the end of the day, and both involve gratitude. That's part of my spiritual practice. I'm a big believer in gratitude. When we focus on the blessings in our life, we're not thinking about what we wish we had or how things could be different. They could always be better. I think things can always be better, but I like to think about, I have this beautiful home. I have a roof over my head. I have clothes to wear. I have good food to eat. I have family and friends who love me. And that is abundance. That is,
Mm.
just means everything to me. So when people can tune into those basics and just think about where they're standing in a blessing now, they're going to stop worrying about all the things our modern life tries to make us want things, need things that isn't going to bring us happiness or fulfillment.
Absolutely. Can you very quickly run us through your daily routine, something we can maybe also use ourselves?
Sure. So before I get out of bed in the morning, I am doing 3 to 5 things I'm grateful for. And I also, because I'm an empath and I don't want to be pulled off balance, I put bubbles of protection around myself and I visualize them as these golden bubbles of light. And I feel a difference. And if I forget to do that, it's not going to go well when I go out to crowded places. Then I say a little prayer and I'm talking to my angels. And I usually do some violet flame invocations because they're very powerful and you set the intention for what they are. My intention is that I have a beautiful day and that I help people, as many people as I can today. So that's my morning routine. And that's in under 5 minutes. That's fast. And then right before I go to sleep, I'm thinking again about my blessings, and it can be different things I think I'm grateful for. And I talk to my angels. That's my time that I commit to them. That is more time, like 10 to 15 minutes of talking to my angels and just seeing them and listening to anything that has been too hectic during the day for me to pick up. And I also do, at that time, I do healing and prayers for people that I know that I've been asked to help, or that I'm currently doing healing work on. I do that at that time too.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So I know you can help lots of people, but is there a particular client that's kind of your favorite client, or that would get the most out of a session with you?
Oh my gosh. Well, somebody who already loves angels, they may never have had an experience, but they love angels. They really feel pulled to angels. They're already going to be open and they're excited and they dedicate time to it. But it's not necessarily that they come with any particular gift for it, but I can feel with their energy, that combination, that it's going to be such a joy to work with them because they're completely open and they're going to make progress.
Yeah. Are you positive about the future of humanity?
I am. And I know there's no logical reason really to feel that, except that I know there's a lot of good people in the world. I know. But my angels keep telling me when I worry, when I ask them and when I worry about it, they're always like, everything is happening the way it's meant to. Everything's going to be fine. Things are going to be a lot better. Trust. And I do, because they've never been wrong. They have never, ever been wrong about anything in my life. So it helps me relax that there's chaos going on, but it's bringing us to a better place.
Yeah. And if there was something that you could sort of inject into everybody's belief system and everybody would believe it and know it to be true, what would be like the one thing that you would love everybody to know and believe and embrace?
I would inject unconditional love into them. I think that is one of the highest things you can achieve on your spiritual journey. My first mentor taught me that's like a ninth level ability, when you can think about people across the world that you've never met and never will meet and have such compassion for them like you would for your family or a dear friend, when you would care about their welfare, even though they don't have anything to do with your life. If we could all achieve that, I know we'd have a different world. I know we would have peace in our world. There would be no hunger and no poverty either.
Absolutely. Do you think we'll ever get there?
I do. I think we were getting close to things really shifting about 8 to 10 years ago. I could really feel it. And I was so excited. And then all of a sudden there was like this swamp, like it all got pushed down. But that's now. That's just now. And we are, this is just one blip in time. And this will be in the past. And we will see that rise up even more, I think, because of what is happening in the world now. People will want to step into the light in a way that they're shining light, that they're spreading love and showing love, and have less tolerance for hatred and everything that goes along with that.
Well, you truly seem to love angels. You are committed to working with them clearly in this lifetime. What is it that you love the most about angels and why?
I think the fact that, well, number one, their energy, because when they wrap their energy around you, no matter what's happening in your life or within you emotionally, like it just feels like the most comforting, loving moment where you can just breathe again and you're going to be okay and comforted. I guess really the maximum maternal kind of comfort you could get, really, which is a weird thing to say about angels, but it is. And then the fact that to know that we have that kind of guidance, like the kind of guidance to take us step by step with every little decision. If you want, you can never bother your angels. They're just waiting for you to make use of them. So there's nothing too small. And I think that having that, just knowing you have that and making use of it changes life. It changes it completely.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I was looking, you have an angelic face. Have people said that to you before?
Yes.
Yeah, you do. You look like a little angel. Well, it sounds like you were meant to do what you do, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful when people really step into their purpose. And I think that's also what I love about pretty much all Orykl practitioners, because I've vetted people on this platform, and I just know, I can sense, feel, I just know that they are doing what they came here to do. And I think that's beautiful because we all really have this purpose, this gift. And when we share that with the world, we're actually just doing a service to everybody and ourselves. So I love that. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to say?
No, but I think except that the angels are very excited about this interview because I keep feeling them coming in and I get chills all over my body like in waves. So they're very excited about this interview. I can only imagine it's going to help somebody. If it helps one person, I will be thrilled.
Oh, well, absolutely. And I think, it doesn't matter how it hits people. To some people, it'll be an interview that they heard. To somebody else, it might be a really major turning point. But I think anybody listening right now is meant to be listening right now, and it will have an impact. And what we're doing here is really trying to help people and trying to connect us with that divine part of us that is just so important to be aware of in this life, so that we don't get too bogged down by this material 3D world that has so many crazy things happening. I mean, we are spiritual beings. We're here for a short little blip in time, and everything is fine. Like your angels say, it's all good, and they're there to help us. You're there to help whoever would like to meet up with you. And I think it's great. And I'm very grateful to you and everybody that does this work. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and thank you for being an Orykl and really for following your purpose and your passion.
Oh, thank you. It's been such a pleasure.